I wanted to talk to you about problem solving and why we struggle solving some of our problems. And I want to talk to you about 3 different areas where I see people struggling in solving whatever problem they may be facing in that moment and why that is. And the first one is what I like to call illusionary problems. And I'll give you an example. Recently, a client of mine came in and he was really worried about being let go. So he'd been spending a lot of time thinking about potentially being let go from his company. His company was going through some massive restructuring, and they were restructuring in phases. And so they were starting in different departments, and he knew his department was coming up shortly, and he didn't know whether he was going to be on that list of people to be let go. And so he was not sleeping. He was really worrying about this problem. But as we started to explore this, we started to notice that this problem was a problem of worrying, not a problem of being let go. The thing that was keeping him up was the worry, the thought of this potentially happening in the future. But it's an illusion. It's the issue why it's a problem is that there's nothing to be done. And we explored that. Is there anything you can do now to prepare yourself for this? Is there anything to be done that would have this problem either not be a problem anymore, or that would potentially prepare you for that? And there wasn't. There was really just a kind of wait and see strategy that he was deploying, and was the only real way of dealing with this. And so a good litmus test for this is to ask yourself, if you woke up with amnesia tomorrow, would this problem that you're struggling with actually be a problem? Right? And if no, if forgetting about it would dissolve it, well, then it's an illusionary problem. The second area is areas where there is a problem, or a perceived problem, one that feels very real, but there's really nothing that you can do, or you're trying to solve something that is really you can't solve. And an example of that was both my parents have had cancer, and in those moments where they had the cancer diagnosis, it really felt like a problem. It really felt like a struggle in that moment. And what I realized through going through this process a couple of times, and we had another third scare with my dad, was that I was trying to, again, solve a problem that was I couldn't solve. There were certainly things I could do, and there were certainly things that I was certain and knew I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to every oncology appointment with my dad and with my mom. I knew what role I wanted to play in that scenario, but it was a problem that I could not solve. I couldn't take their cancer away. And so again, we struggle in these areas where there's a problem, there's nothing really that we can do about it, but we just hold on to the fact that there's this problem. So that's number 2 place where I see us struggling with problems. And the only thing to really do in that scenario is to realize that there's nothing to do, right? And to gain clarity around how you want to show up for that person. And for me, it was really showing up in the core of that, of what that word means, which is to be present, fully present to every moment that we were going through this cancer treatment and that whole experience. And so that's how I did it. And that was how this problem dissolved. It wasn't a problem any longer. It was just me being very present to what life was unfolding in front of us. And the third one, and this one, I've just recently seen, is that we try to solve problems from the wrong place. We try to solve problems when we're really worked up about the particular circumstance that we're dealing with. And so I get worked up, I'm really upset, or I'm angry, sad, frustrated. And from that place, I try to solve the issue. So if we look at this, and let's say, we're not thinking about the problem right now, but all of a sudden we start thinking about the problem, and we're starting to really have a lot of thinking about this problem. And so I'm getting frustrated, I'm getting angry, I'm getting annoyed. And from this place, now that this has become a real problem, I mean, I'm angry and I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed, I try to solve this from here. When I'm wrapped up in my pattern thinking, I am in this right and wrong, black and white. I'm in this very circular thinking that brings emotions of anger and frustration and annoyance, and we decide we want to solve the issue here. And we know that from this place, we just have circular thinking. We know that from this place, it's harder to kind of look at the reality from a different place. Like our mind is closed. We are righteous in how we look at things. And we have the same old thinking over and over because we're closed. So when it comes to problem solving, the way we do this is we let this thinking settle, because it always settles. And so when we're here, the only thing this is telling us is to allow our thoughts to settle, to not take our thoughts too seriously in that instance. It's telling us that the quality of our thinking, our ability to solve problems, is compromised here. And so we allow our thinking and our consciousness, our settled nature, natural nature, to come back, right? For us to elevate in terms of our ability to solve problems. From this place, either the problem is no longer a problem, or it becomes crystal clear what there is to do. Right? What the next step is in that instance becomes obvious, or it becomes obvious that there's nothing to do in this moment. But it's so clear. There isn't a lot of argument about pros and cons, and if I do this, this will happen, and scenario evaluation. Like that is the space of here. Right? The pros and cons and the going back and forth, and if I do this, this will happen. Maybe I should try this. Like that, you can even see in how I'm explaining it that it's a different energy. But if we let our thoughts settle naturally, if we allow ourselves to elevate in consciousness, this is the space of presence. And from this place, this is where problem solving happens effortlessly. So just notice as you're trying to solve a problem, which one of these is it? Is it that there is actually no problem here, that it's a construct of your mind, right? That you're inventing the problem and then trying to solve an invented problem? Is it a problem that there's nothing that you can really do in the moment, right? There's only the ability to be fully present to what's happening, that life is unfolding, this scenario that you might not want, but there's not much we can do, right? Or is it that you're trying to solve a problem from a place that it's really hard to solve problems from here, and all you really need to do is to allow yourself to settle and then look again and see what you see.